Hi again, my name is Nicole Sharp, and I am the founder of a nonprofit organization called the Heather Hurley Foundation for the Prevention of Domestic Violence. Heather Hurley was my mom who died as a result of domestic violence. And so I decided to write a book called The End of November, Growing Up with Domestic Violence, which can be found on Amazon. It's a memoir about my experience growing up with domestic violence, which was like another entity. It was so real. It affected my life and every facet of it. So I just wanted to write this book in order to help victims of domestic violence and even their children who experience their mother or father being abused because they were completely affected. And the young people, the children who witness violence, they are the most silent of the victims. So that's why I wrote my memoir, and I've been reading chapter by chapter. Sometimes I would read two. This particular chapter that we're up to is chapter 6, Diamonds in the Street. One fall morning, I trekked to school down my usual route. With my huge backpack bopping against my back, I knew I would be there in less than 10 minutes, since I only lived 3 blocks away. As I turned the corner, I saw something amazing. The street up ahead was sparkling in the soft morning sunlight. I had to find out what was causing this, so I hurried to get closer. Lo and behold, my 7-year-old eyes saw diamonds. Hundreds of diamonds littered all over the street. What I didn't know was that this phenomenon was really the remnants of a very bad car accident that must have happened early that morning or the night before. A few cars drove by, and I thought, they must not be seeing what I'm seeing, or else the drivers would be jumping out of their cars, taking as many as they could. I peered sneakily to the left and then to the right to make sure no one would see me. Then with quick precision, I picked up a handful of the diamonds and pushed them in my pockets. I didn't tell any of my friends or my teacher what I had found that morning, just in case they would try to take them from me. I went through the entire day daydreaming about my mom's reaction when she would see the diamonds I found in the street. I knew she would be so happy, and all I wanted was for my mommy to be happy. When I got home, I ran to my mom and pulled out my treasures, holding them in both hands with a big accomplished smile on my face. Look, Mommy, look what I found. Without hesitation, she knocked them out of my hand and onto the floor. What are you doing with glass in your hands? She scolded me. But they're diamonds. It's not glass. It's glass, not diamonds, my mom said. Don't ever pick things up from the street again, she exclaimed. My happy bubble burst. I really thought in my 7-year-old mind that when she saw the diamonds, she would bear hug me and be overwhelmed with absolute joy. I thought that with the diamonds, my mother and father would finally be able to buy a house where we would live happily ever after. As a mom, I understood my mother's immediate concern. She just wanted to protect me from getting hurt, and I just wanted to do exactly what all children in violent households want to do: protect the abused parent from getting hurt by making things better, making everything better. I saw this stroke of luck. I saw this as a stroke of luck. I really thought finding diamonds in the street as the key to my mom's true happiness. Although she said they were glass, I still believed them to be diamonds. So, for several nights, I would stare at them in bed before I would drift away to sleep. And as I think back, I realize that children want to make everything better in an abusive family household. They'll do anything to make it better, or even act out to distract so that all the attention will be on them and not on the abused parent. And some young people like me would try to excel at everything in school and behavior, everything, so that they would try to make their parents happy, giving things to their parents to make their parents happy so they won't fight. right? And this is a burden. It's a heavy weight on the shoulders of a child who is so new to this world. They're learning that I have to do things to make someone happy, and an adult happy, so that they won't hurt the other parent. And there's a lot of adults who grew up experiencing or seeing domestic violence, and they never talked about it until adulthood. Or some people die without ever talking about it at all. And it affects the psyche of a child. It affects the structure of their mind, their behavior, the reasons why we do certain things as an adult. And I had to recognize this because we carry these things that we learn from childhood into adulthood. They shape us to be these people that we, you know, for me, I would say that I really wasn't supposed to be, but unless we get therapy as an intervention to help us to be more balanced, you know, in our mindset, more balanced in life, not to have that heavy weight of burden that I couldn't stop, you know, this parent from hurting this parent. I couldn't stop this parent from killing this parent. Me, I actually blamed myself for the murder of my mom. I thought that I should have done this and I should have done that. And it was reinforced when a family member told me straight to my face, you are responsible for your mother's death. And I carried that for many years. And it was only through therapy that I was able to work through that with the therapist and realize it really wasn't my fault. So imagine how you grow up feeling. I'll speak about, for me, grow up feeling that my mother's dead because of me. I had a lot of hatred for myself. Self-hatred is real. I wanted to commit suicide, you know, a few times. And it's only through therapy that I was able to realize I was not at fault. I was a child when my mother was killed. Some people say that I was an older child. I was 15, so I still could have stopped it, but I'm still a child. And that's not a good burden to reinforce on a child's head and shoulders, this weight of feeling that I'm still alive and yet my parents dead because of me. So I just wanted to bring that up and make it clear that there's a lot of things, thoughts, behaviors that children who are adults now grow up carrying with them from dysfunctional family atmospheres. And therapy helps a lot. I just want to say that. Children are the most silent of the victims of domestic violence. We have to keep our eyes on them and realize that they too are victims, indirectly, but still, it's still, the weight of victimization still weighs heavy on that child, and I'm speaking from experience. So I think we have enough time to go into chapter 7. It's another short chapter. It's called The Runaway. Not too long after the Diamonds in the Street episode, at the age of 7, I decided that I couldn't take it anymore. It, you may ask? The constant fighting, the blow-ups, the tippy-toeing on eggshells, knowing that a flare-up was going to occur, but not knowing exactly when. I had enough. On one Saturday morning, I woke up and saw that no one was home. I went into each room calling for mommy and daddy, but they were nowhere to be found. I became anxious. What I didn't know was that my father had dropped my mother off to work, hoping I wouldn't wake up until he returned. My mother worked in the dietary department of a nursing home. Her shifts were 6 a.m. to 1 or 11 a.m. to 7, or sometimes both if she wanted to be paid double time. I came to realize afterwards that she worked both to get away from my father. This particular morning, she worked the 6 a.m. shift, thus the reason why they were gone so early. Be that as it may, I saw this as an opportunity to just leave all the stress of having to experience my mother's grunts and screams and my father's relentless blows to her torso. For the most part, he would beat her in that area, and now I realize this was so that there would be no visible signs of abuse. As I mentioned before, I used to write myself into my stories while the fighting would happen so as to magically beam myself into another world. but sometimes that wasn't enough. This is why I love school so much. School was the only place I would feel at ease and feel wanted and praised for my good grades. No one knew what I had to endure before I came to school and at the end of the day. And I wasn't going to let anyone know what was going on at home. I was very ashamed, so I had a smile on my face all throughout the day, every day. It wasn't a painted on smile. My smile was real because I was really happy at school. I remember one day, one of my classmates stopped me and said, "I wish I was like you. You're always so happy." If she only knew. So here I was, packing this red tote an aunt gave me with a picture of all the flags of the world in the front, arranged like the flags at the United Nations building in the city. I can't remember what I placed in the bag, but knowing me, it was extra clothing. And my red and black compact Mario Brothers video game. I zipped it up, put it on my back, and walked out the first door of our apartment. I didn't know where I was going. All I knew was that I was leaving this place. As I walked down the dark hallway with the old dirt brown carpet and brown plastic wooden wall panels, toward the second and last door with my UN bag in my hand, almost dragging the floor, I started to hear a fiddling at the locks. I stopped in my tracks. The door opened, steadily spilling morning sunlight into the dusty hallway. My father looked at me perplexed as he pulled his key out of the lock. "Where are you going?" I stared at him with doe eyes in silence. The silence lasted for a couple of seconds. He then locked the door and simply led me back inside, and not a word was said about it that day or any other day. That was weird. All children in abusive households feel imprisoned in some way, as I did. Many run away, like I almost did, but then they become victims of abuse on the streets, be it as a member of a gang, a prostitute, becoming a drug abuser, the list goes on. It is such a sad circle, and for this reason, I want to help these children who seem to be forgotten by society to know that they have a place where they can go to for help. And this is why I have joined the Purple Ribbon Council, known today as Bloom 365, to head up a support group for children who have lost their partners to domestic abuse. Who have lost their parents or parents to domestic abuse in Brooklyn, New York. My hope is that the pilot program is so successful that it is adopted in every city in the U.S. until there is no more need. Sometimes I wonder how long I would have lasted on the street as a skinny little 7-year-old carrying a bright red bag around. I know I wouldn't have gotten too far. And I do remember that like it was yesterday, me trying to run away at 7. I already had enough at age 7. It was enough. And it was difficult. It was very difficult growing up, not knowing when the violence would occur, seeing the signs but not knowing exactly when. It's like living in a war zone, like you're a soldier, and you just have to keep your senses on at all times to make sure that the enemy is not anywhere on either side of you or back or front of you. It's very stressful. And so for me as a 7-year-old to think I've had enough of this stress, I'm leaving, that says volumes. I look back and I don't know how I did it. I know it has to be because of God. So I had mentioned the Purple Ribbon Council, which today is called Bloom 365. And you can learn more about them at bloom365.org. Bloom stands for Bring Love on Others More. They are a great initiative which teaches young people about healthy relationships versus unhealthy abusive relationships. It's a prevention program that I really want to be in the schools in New York City and throughout the land. They are in a few cities, and they've even extended to the Army, to the NFL, and other major organizations. And I think that it is a great program, and this is something that my organization, the Heather Hurley Foundation, would like to bring to New York City and other cities. So I want to thank you all for listening. Don't forget the children. The children are the most silent of the victims of domestic and gender-based violence. And next time we're going to read chapter 8, called The Green-Eyed Monster. Thank you for listening.